The standard format is spiking a bunch of cards this week. You don't want to miss this episode of the Market Watch. This video is sponsored by Flipside Gaming. Check out flipsidegaming.com for all your gaming needs. Right now you can pre-order Innistrad Remastered, Ether Drift, or find a vast number of other great items on their website. Remember, shipping is free in the US if your order's over $100 or consists only of singles. Just look in the description or the comment section below for direct links to their site. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. Like I said in the cold open, standard is the key driver for most of the card spiking that you'll see today, but there are some surprises too. Also, you may have noticed the format for the Market Watch is a little different now. Instead of separate cold card videos, we're going to put the key cards moving down in value right into the same video where we look at the hot cards. And since many times the cold cards are the same ones we discussed on the hot list in previous weeks, our cold card segment will be kind of a speed round, but we'll still spend the same amount of time we've always spent on the cards moving up in price. Additionally, we're now doing Commander Deck Tech videos to replace those cold card videos, and they'll be released to the Gold Patrons and Hero and Legend tier channel members on Sundays. They'll go out to everyone else on Wednesday afternoons. Last week we did an Edgar Markov Deck Tech, so check that out if you missed it. And next week we're going to be looking at the Gitrog monster. Anyway, as always, our lists are based on two pieces of criteria: the percentage change in the value of the cards, as well as a change in the number of sales from week to week. Quickly, before we get into the details though, just a couple more things. I do want to say thank you to one of our gold patrons, that is Omar Rodriguez. Omar, thank you for your support on Patreon. Thank you for all your support in general for the channel. It goes a long way. Could not do this without viewers like yourself for sure, so thank you. And I also want to say thanks to a viewer who gave a super thanks tip last week. That is Todd Branch. Todd, thank you again for all the support you've shown the channel through super thanks tips, through Patreon. It really, truly does mean a lot. So thank you, Todd. And now, without any further ado, let's get into it. Okay, let's begin with our speed round through the top 5 coldest cards of the week. First, we have coming in at number 5, Nethergoyf. Down $2.35 to $21. That's a 10% decrease. Number 4 is from the Lost Caverns of Ixalan's Blood Rights Commander deck. Charismatic Conqueror is down $2.46 to $13.28. That's a 16% decrease. Our number 3 card is Yevamaya Hollow, down $4.93 to $62. That's a 7% decrease. Our number 2 card was number 4 on the hot list last week, Abhorrent Oculus, down $5.32 to $43.19. That's an 11% decrease. And coming in at number 1 is Edgar Markov. This is the Commander 2017 copy, which only comes in foil. It is down $8.11 to $91.89. That's an 8% decrease. This, of course, is being reprinted in Innistrad Remastered, which means this will be more affordable soon. And like I said during the opening, if you're interested in building an Edgar Markov deck soon, check out that deck tech video we put out on Wednesday. Okay, on to our top 10 hottest cards of the week. Coming in at number 10 is Long-Term Plans from Scourge. It goes up $1.12 to $4.30. That is a 35% increase. This is in a few commander decks like Narset Enlightened Master, for example. Over the last couple weeks, this uncommon has dried up in the secondary market. The only other printing of it was in the Heads I Win, Tails You Lose Secret Lair commander deck. That means this isn't the easiest card to find, and some do consider Long-Term Plans an underrated tutor. Ultimately, the tighter supply has resulted in the price jump you see here. Number 9 is Sandstorm Salvager, up $1.78 to $5.03. That's a 55% increase. This sees a little commander play. Sometimes it appears in Bernard Ginger Sculptor decks, for example, but standard is the format that is causing the spike you see here. A new Selesnya tokens build came in first place in the Star City Games Standard Open last weekend, and things escalated from there as players scrambled to build the deck. The deck runs 4 copies of Sandstorm Salvager in the main, and remember, the cards from Outlaws of Thunder Junction's Big Score subset are harder to pull. This one is a mythic rare from that subset, so the extra demand has resulted in a sizable percentage increase this week. Number 8 is Nowhere to Run, up $1.99 to $3.02. That is a 193% increase. This Duskborn Uncommon has been seeing play in multiple formats. First, it appears in 1v1 Dual Commander, as well as regular Commander. In regular Commander, it's in Hirobi Death's Wail and Dina Soul Steeper builds, for example. Meanwhile, in Pioneer, the card is a 4 of and 5 color Enigmatic Incarnation, but again, standard is the key driver for the price spike. If you've been playing any standard games, you're already familiar with this premium removal option. It seems like it's run everywhere. Not only is it great pinpoint removal, but the lasting ability is useful to deal with creatures with ward in the format too. The highest play builds that use Nowhere to Run are Dimir Midrange and Esper Self Bounce, but it's in other big decks too, like Sultai Tempo, Dimir Self Bounce, Dimir Control, and Dimir Fairies. Ultimately though, the build that has the most to do with the price increase is that Esper Self Bounce deck. The deck uses This Town Ain't Big Enough, Nurturing Pixie, and Fear of Isolation to bounce enchantments like Nowhere to Run, as well as Storm Chaser's Talent and Hopeless Nightmare back to the player's hand. Then they are cast again for extra value. The build has really caught the eye of many players. In fact, Nowhere to Run is not the only card from that deck spiking this week. Number 7, Contaminant Grafter, up 202 to 752. That's a 37% increase. This is from the Phyrexia All Will Be One Corrupting Influence Commander deck. It does see a little commander play. The most popular deck that runs this is Atraxa Praetor's Voice. However, the second most popular deck using Contaminant Grafter is Finn the Fangbearer, and Finn was just reprinted in Magic Foundations. Now, Finn has been a fairly cheap uncommon. However, with lots of players finding copies of it in their packs, there is an increased amount of interest in commander builds around it. Containment Grafter is a harder to find card that is great in those decks, so it has dried up this week, leading to the price jump you see here. Number 6 is Persistent Constrictor, up 225 to 724. That is a 45% increase. This is from the Duskmourn Endless Punishment Commander deck, and it does see play in fresh builds around a couple cards from there. The front-facing commander, Velgavoth Harrower of Souls, and the Lord of Pain. However, there's a couple even newer cards that want to include Persistent Constrictor in their commander builds. Those are Ophelia Viper Whisperer from Magic Foundation's Jumpstart, and to a lesser degree, Zool Assure Lichlord from the main set. Ultimately though, it is Ophelia that caused Persistent Constrictor's price spike. Before we get to the top 5, just a quick reminder, this video is sponsored by Flipside Gaming. Check out flipsidegaming.com for all your gaming needs. Right now, you can pre-order Innistrad Remastered or Ether Drift there. Plus, you can find any number of other great items on their website. Remember, if your order is over $100 or consists only of singles, shipping will be free in the United States. And if you're looking for a direct link to their site, just check out the description or comment section below. I do have links posted in both of those places. And now, without any further ado, let's get to the top 5. Coming in at number 5 is Paw Patch Recruit, up 266 to 356. That's a 296% increase. This has been seeing a little commander play. It appears in Burke, Long Ear of the Law, and Phineas H. Archer decks, for example. But again, it's the standard format that has caused increased interest in the card. Turns out this is a 3-of in the main of those Selesnya token builds I mentioned earlier. The deck that won the Star City Games Standard Open last weekend was actually running 4 copies. Like I said, since that tournament, players have been buying up cards to assemble Selesnya tokens, and that's why Paw Patch Recruit is spiking. It is worth noting though that this is not a one-hit wonder. It's in other standard decks too, like Gruul Aggro, which is another deck that performed really well at the Star City Games Standard Open. Plus you see this in Selesnya counters and sometimes Gruul Prowess. Number 4, This Town Ain't Big Enough, up 294 to 349. That's a 535% increase if you're doing the math at home. This card sounds familiar. That's right, the standard Esper Self-Bounce deck I mentioned earlier is big enough to have 4 copies in the main. Again, those builds are performing well in the standard meta right now, and it's a unique deck that has gotten a lot of attention. Even though This Town Ain't Big Enough is an uncommon from a recent standard set, it's still spiking aggressively due to the amount of sales it has been seeing. Before taking off this week, the card was still getting a lot of standard play, usually alongside Up the Beanstalk and big creatures that had ways to lessen their casting cost. Aside from Esper Self-Bounce, This Town Ain't Big Enough is in standard decks like Temur Floodcaller Combo, Sultai Tempo, Dimir Self-Bounce, Bant Tempo, Simic Tempo, Temur Tempo, 4-Color Self-Bounce, and Sultai Self-Bounce. Number 3, Collector's Cage, up $665 to $10 for a 199% increase. This is another mythic rare from Outlaws of Thunder Junction's The Big Score subset, so like I said earlier, it is a bit harder to pull. It's also a 4-of in that Selesnya token build that won the Star City Games Standard Open last weekend. In other words, we have a harder to find card seeing a sudden spike in demand thanks to a new deck. Not surprisingly, Collector's Cage spikes aggressively this week. Coming in at number 2 for the second week in a row is Seasoned Pyromancer. The Double Masters 2022 copy goes up $448 to $1780, that's a 34% increase. The Modern Horizons copy is up $962 to $1999, that's a 93% increase. This has traditionally seen play in some 1v1 dual commander builds, but Modern is the format causing the spike you see here. This is an energy dex in that format. You might recall that they lost Amped Raptor with the recent Banned and Restricted List update, but Seasoned Pyromancer has stepped in to fill the hole. Even though the card works in a different way, it's still good in energy decks, and they are performing very well in the new meta. The energy build getting the most play is Boros, but Seasoned Pyromancer is appearing in Mardu energy as well. Additionally, the card is in Modern Mardu and Boros midrange as well as Aura Reanimator, but its role in Boros energy is really what's causing the card to jump the way that it is. And finally, coming in at number 1 is Storm Chaser's Talent, up $9.78 to $20.48. That's a 91% increase. This gets some commander play in different decks, including Veyran Voice of Duality and Alania Diversion Storm, but I buried the lead long enough. This is spiking because of the play it's getting in Standard, mostly because of its role in the wildly popular Esper Self-Bounce deck. There, you find 4 copies of Storm Chaser's Talent in the main. But it's in other standard decks too, like Temur Flood Color Combo, Sultai Tempo, Dimir Self Bounce, Bant Tempo, Simic Tempo, Temur Tempo, 4-color Flood Color Combo, 4-color Self Bounce, and Jeskai Control. Alright, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch, but join us later in the week again when we look at a deck tech for the Gitrog monster. Let me tell you, that could be a nasty commander deck. Not for all play groups, perhaps. Anyway, until next time, hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page, as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.